Hey YouTube, Kier Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Shaddoll Yugioh deck profile for post the October 2019 ban list. Wanted to do an update to the deck. Very excited that Shaddoll Construct is back at 3 on the ban list, putting this deck at a pretty strong powerhouse level now compared to what it was before with just one construct. You can really focus on just the construct play as a whole, focusing on a lot of different light monsters as well, just to send to the graveyard to set up with for a bunch of other plays we can do in the deck. And just overall, the strength of the different Shaddoll Fusion monsters we have really does come in handy with all the different Shaddoll send effects that you can use and all the different flip effects also, depending on which Shadolls you have to work with. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, for the Shaddoll monsters, I run 3 Shaddoll Beast with this one. All Shadolls have a send effect and a flip effect, for those that didn't know. For the flip effect for Shaddoll Beast, you can draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can draw 1 card. You can only use 1 Shaddoll Beast effect per turn, and only once that turn. But you really do have a very nice setup with this card, giving you that draw power if you send it for the fusion cost for one of your Shaddoll Fusions. Very strong there. You can easily special summon this card back to the field as well with cards like Shaddoll Falco to use the flip effect next turn. There's also a Synchro combo that when we get to the extra deck I'll discuss that you can use with Shaddoll Beast and Falco, which I've loved with the deck ever since I mained it at locals. It was like a very fun play to do when you could, like I said, and much more usable as well just with our limit in the extra deck, as long as you can get the link arrows to sync up and have more space for your extra deck monsters. I also run 3 Shaddoll Falco. I'd say Beast and Falco are very important for your plays. With the set effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card in a face-down defense position. You can only use 1 Shaddoll Falco effect per turn, only once that turn, shared with all the Shaddoll effects. But what's great is if you set up this card with the special summon, when it's flipped, you can target 1 Shaddoll monster in your graveyard except Shaddoll Falco, special summon it in face-down defense position. So you just give more and more resources with Shaddoll Falco, making it very pesky for your opponent to get rid of this card on the field as well, and just makes it so you either have to send it with another effect or risk attacking into it and you getting the flip for you to special more Shadolls out into the field. And once again with the fusion, you can just set it up. It gives you an additional monster on the field for you to use as well. And I also run 3 Shaddoll Squamata. This card just really does help with the setup. For the flip, you can target 1 monster on the field and destroy it. But what I use it most of the time for is for the send effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard, except Shaddoll Squamata. You can only use 1 Shaddoll Squamata effect per turn, only once that turn. So if you send Squamata, it just helps to thin out the deck by giving you an additional send, whether it be Shaddoll Falco or Shaddoll Beast. Falco, very useful because then it's set, because then you have the additional monster in the graveyard in the form of Squamata for you to use with Falco's special summon effect if you don't have any other ones in the graveyard to use, because a lot of the other cards we use in the deck to summon out our Shaddoll Construct rely on light monsters that we have, so we don't really have the special summon option with the Shaddoll monsters if we just go for those options instead. And then for some of the lower number Shaddoll cards, I run 2 Shaddoll Hedgehog. You can add 1 Shaddoll Spell Trap from your deck to your hand with the cards flip, which definitely does come in handy for searching out any of the vital spells we need for the Shaddoll plays. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add 1 Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand, except for Shaddoll Hedgehog. You can only use 1 Shaddoll Hedgehog effect per turn, only once that turn. It's good for the resource add. You don't really need it as much for some of the other plays, for the fact that you can then obviously have cards in your hand to use. I much prefer just sending them to the graveyard for fusion plays, but if you have some other cards in your hand like Shaddoll Fusion for those search, you definitely do want those options available to you to have the monsters in your hand to use for those fusion plays. And then to finish off the Shaddoll monsters, I really do think it's weird that all these Shadolls got the ultra rare reprint from the Heroes Revenge booster pack, except for Shaddoll Dragon. I feel like they just kind of left him out of that deck, but I still like to run the 2. It's got a flip effect of you can target 1 card your opponent controls, return to the hand. Definitely does come in handy when you're going up against some pesky monsters, just to have this option as a card to set up with Falco in the face down set play. And then also, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target 1 spell or trap card on the field, destroy it. You can only use 1 Shaddoll Dragon effect per turn, and only once that turn. So the spell or trap pop doesn't come up as much, just all depends on the deck you're going up against with the back row play, but still very usable. And like I said, just depending on the card you want to set up, whether it be Squamata or Dragon, both come in handy very much so, whether you set them from your hand or special summon them face down with Shaddoll Falco. And then for the added support for the monsters in the deck, I run 3 Mathematician. This card just really does help to set up any of the Shaddolls, and when this card is normal summon, you can send 1 level 4 or lower monster from your deck to the graveyard, and when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, draw 1 card. The draw power definitely does come in handy, but it's another Earth option, so we can fuse into El Shaddoll Shekinaga. Having that option available to us is very, very useful for sure, which is why I like to run 3 of this. Just opening it up in your beginning hand definitely does help, depending on the play you want to go for and what the rest of the cards in your hand are as well. And just to help with the additional light plays for El Shaddoll Construct, I run 2 Perform Age Damage Juggler. With this one, when a card effect is activated that will inflict damage to you, quick effect, you can discard this card, negate the activation if you do destroy that card, or during the battle phase, quick effect, you can discard this card and reduce the next battle damage you would take. And also, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Perform Age monster from your deck to your hand, aside from Damage Juggler. And you can only use this effect of Damage Juggler once per turn. But setting this card up in the graveyard gives you that search for some of the other options. You also have the easy special summon option with Perform Age Trick Clown. If you send this card with Shaddoll Fusion, it gets you a monster on the field for just 1,000 life points to pay. And the 1 Perform Age Hat Trigger. The one reason I run this is to search it out with Damage Juggler, just because it's very easy to have if 2 or more monsters on the field. It gives you this summon on the field just as an additional monster, whether you want to use it for a link summon or just, like I said, an additional play to go for, or an additional attack, since you can really bump up this card's attack and defense each time a Perform Age counter is placed on this card as well. So very, very useful just to run this lineup all together, so you have plenty of El Shaddoll Construct targets for the fusion plays as well. And then just for a little more added defense against your opponent, I run 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just perfect hand trap to use in the deck, along with the 2 Effect Veiler that I run as well. I preferred Effect Veiler to some of the other hand traps just for the fact that it is a light. I don't like to use it as the option for the send for the fusion, but if I have to, it's there and available to me. Also, same with Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring if you decide to run El Shaddoll Grista in the deck, being the Fire Shaddoll Fusion as well. And I also, for the 1-ofs, I run 1 Armageddon Knight. This one just helps for the sending of a Shaddoll monster. You send 1 Dark Monster when this card is summoned from the deck to the graveyard. You can also revive it with cards like Monster Reborn in the deck, so then you have more options available to you with this card if you summon it again to send another card. 1 Glow Bulb is another Earth option. I don't really like to send Mathematician. I like to open up Mathematician to use with the deck, so having this be sent to the graveyard, then all I have to do is send the top card of my deck to the graveyard to special summon it. It's just another monster to extend my play. And if you wish, it does give you options just for some other link summons in the deck as well. And the last one I run, with the amount of light monsters we run in the deck and just how easily we can set them up with Shaddoll Fusing, I run 1 Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning. If you don't want to run the Glow Bulb, you could try mixing around your numbers of Envoy in the deck as well, maybe a second copy. Just a very strong main deck monster to go along with our fusion plays, especially since you can have your fusion monster set up in the extra monster zone and then have nothing else to rely on extra deck wise until your opponent obviously takes care of the monster or you use it for a link summon. But this definitely does come in handy just for the easy banish to special on the field as well. And that's it for the monsters, and run a good amount of the monster lineup, but it all works very, very well together just to set up our main spell plays as well, which they are. I run 3 Shaddoll Fusion. You fusion summon 1 Shaddoll Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or your side of the field as fusion materials. If your opponent controls a monster that is special summoned from the extra deck, you can also use monsters in your deck as fusion materials, and you can only activate 1 Shaddoll Fusion per turn. That setup really does come in handy if your opponent goes first and gets an extra deck monster on the field, meaning you just have to use this 1 card to fuse into whatever Shaddoll monster you have on the field to go for. Other than that, you can use the resources in your hand quite easily if you go first to set up cards like Shaddoll Winda or Construct, depending on what you want to go for and what specific type of play you want to go for as well. For more of a strong finisher against your opponent, I run 3 El Shaddoll Fusion, the quick play spell. You fusion summon 1 Shaddoll Fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. You can activate 1 El Shaddoll Fusion per turn, but this quick fusion play definitely does come in handy for the fact that it allows you then to obviously go for a second fusion using cards on your field. So if you attack with monsters you already have on the field, use El Shaddoll Fusion for another additional one, which is much more consistent now that we have plenty of, like I said, light options for El Shaddoll Construct. This card definitely does help for sure. And then also using your opponent's resources, still at 3. Thankfully, with the Banlist 3 Super Polymerization, this card was also much easier to gain a hold of with dual Devastator release. You discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either side of the field as fusion material. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response, but the fact that you just need a attribute for a Shaddoll Fusion monster, whether it be any of the 6, Super Polymerization can take care of a good amount of your opponent's cards, and just as long as you have that 1 Shaddoll to use as well from either side of the field. So very, very strong, and like I said, they can't activate anything in response, so another good way to finish them off. And I also run the 1 Monster Reborn, just more special summoning from the graveyard. Armageddon Knight, Shaddoll monster you may need, you name it, this card definitely does come in handy. And I also run 2 Call by the Grave just as a final spot to take care of my opponent's hand traps, whether it be Ash Blossom when I'm trying to send a card from the deck to the graveyard. That can really mess up my play if they interrupt it, so I like to run this card. If you don't want to run Call by the Grave in the main deck, you can try taking out this for 2 Shaddoll Core. That would also just change around some of the numbers you run for the extra deck monsters for some of the Shaddolls, but that all can be easily changed as well if you decide to run 2 Shaddoll Core for the trap lineup. But that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. Now at 3 on the ban list is the 3 El Shaddoll Construct. It must be Fusion Summon first, and if this card is Special Summon, you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles a Special Summon monster, destroy that monster, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Shaddoll Spell Trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So just summoning this card gives you another additional send for your Shaddoll cards from the deck to the graveyard, setting up plenty of options to either recycle your spells or just gain the additional effects of the Shaddoll monsters you did not send to the graveyard yet. So very, very nice to have this card back at 3. It gives us more options. Another one to easily be special summoned once you fusion summon with it onto the field using Falco, just giving you more to work with. And also, if need be, if you've gone through it enough and you need the light target, it's a banish for Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the beginning if you need to use it that way. I also run 2 El Shaddoll Winda, just another good one to lock down your opponent, since each person can only special summon once while this card is on the field, and it cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, and when it's sent, it gives you the recycle just like all the other Shaddoll cards for the Shaddoll spell and traps. So I like to run the 2 of them though. That's really all you need, because the more offensive play is the Construct play you go for with the 3 Construct we run in the deck, and Winda being more of the defensive one to go for. Another one is just El Shaddoll Shekanaga, another powerhouse one for sure. Just being able to stop your opponent's monster effects. Very, very useful and used with the Earth monsters, so Mathematician, Globe Bulb, you name it with this one. I don't have Grista or any of the other Wendigo or the water one, Anolita, I believe. If you wanted to swap them in, you could take out some of the Link monsters we run. I'd mostly just run them for the fact that if you run Shaddoll Core as well, but you do have the Super Polymerization option with those ones also if need be for the plays. For the Link monsters, I run 1 Shaddoll Construct, just another easy way to get more extra monster zones with this card when you can Link summon it, and then you can easily special summon it back to the field to make use of the arrows since they won't do much in the extra monster zone. Also 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Boral Sword Dragon, and then for the synchro play, I run the 1 Arcanite Magician. Just very, very useful when you can make use of Falco and Beast to go into this card, being a spellcaster that could just destroy cards in your opponent's field very easily. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.